Let's go ahead and start. So what we do is we talk about what we have done and what we have planned for the next week or so, and however was blocking our way, if we have any roadblocks, and if we need any resources from ORI or anywhere else that we might be able to help provide. And I'll go ahead and start with Paul. If you want to give any sort of update on the lab or any of the work that you know about that's been going on, please go ahead.
Okay. Nothing new to report on the ORI remote lab. It's still cranking away here on Remote Lab West. Um, with Michelle mostly, and with some help from me, made remarkable progress on getting Opulent voice user interface and um, voice level stuff all put together and working. There's lots of little bugs, as you might expect from new software. I added a bunch of new issues this morning from a big debug and bug finding session we had yesterday. I'm sure Michelle will have more to report on that. Um, Maybe that's it for me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but no hardware problems or anything that you need fixed in the lab.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen any issues. It's all been working really well. So thank you so much for helping with that. Um, and yeah, I think Pete has.
Sure. So, on AST, I mean, I'll couch it with that they only got approval to run their TT and C-Link in the ham UHF band for emergency use and supposedly outside the US. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's awesome because it falls in our segment for weak signal work and Earth, Moon, Earth, and all that, which of course could affect US hams. But when they filed their interference analysis that the FCC accepted a while back, I dug through it and a whole bunch of well, it's only analyzes UHF radars, which are used at a few sites to for military purposes. And so it turns out that the characteristics of ham stuff's totally different. And where they showed, like, for one of their radars that the interference they make to thermal noise is like -7, for hams it's easily like +12. And if you start to think about side lobe levels of our antennas that aren't like the size of buildings, it's probably even higher. So depending what folks' goals are or whatever, I'd volunteer to help, pitch numbers different ways or assist with that effort. But, I mean, it really just depends what folks want to do. I'm willing to volunteer, but you tell me what you'd like. And the other thing I've been playing with, of course, is the MRA FSKs for EVE, the Earth, Venus, Earth two-way communications link. And that's been kind of like maybe one step forward, two steps back kind of progress lately. So with MRA, the good news is if you plot your bit error rate curves versus energy per bit to noise density, then as you go to higher, more bits per symbol, you get better efficiency. You don't need as much energy per bit. And so that's like well established. And if you go crazy and run have many bits per symbol, it actually approaches minus 1.6 dB, which is the Shannon bound. So that's all good news. So what's the bad news? The bad news is when I look at how Venus rotates, we can only coherently integrate for a quarter to half second. And beyond that, we have to non-coherently integrate. And it looks like that mitigates most, maybe all of the benefit. So I'm exploring what wall I've run into there, but it looks like I have run into a wall. And then I'll have to find some clever way to use modulation and coding to improve. Because if I don't find a way to improve it, we may be back in a regime where that we're sending 20 or 30 bits an hour, uh, which still is great, right? I mean, it's Venus bounce, which is crazy hard, but but anyway, that's the update. So it's on that front, it's mostly misery and learning, and not any grand conclusion quite yet.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know that so you have two articles published already in the newsletter, and I think it'd be really great to see more, of course, and also in when you if you'd like to share it wider, then of course you have our full support to try to get the word out because we're using techniques that are they're really cool, but not maybe widely known as some of the other modulation schemes. So using delay Doppler channels and exploring the edges of it, and trying to see how it matches up with a pretty challenging use case with Earth, Venus, Earth bounce. Very exciting stuff and deeply appreciated.
Oh, I should just probably point out that this MRE FSK stuff doesn't use any channel knowledge at all. So the transmitter doesn't need to know. It's completely independent from the other OTFS
Fun.
stuff that we
Yeah.
were talking about last month. So like in a way, it's more practical, but yet the modem waveform and implementation is still truly bizarre compared to anything that's in like a textbook. Because it's Eve. I mean, Eve is hard. It's really different.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. The kind of the thing that I don't know a lot about is how fast the channel changes because whether or not you need to know anything about the channel is pretty central to the big decisions about whether to use this or that. So if you want to use sort of OFDM style or delay Doppler, then the channel knowledge that you get from sending, usually you send pilot tones over OFDM, and you get back all of this knowledge that lets you sort of equalize with all these many channels. And I think we have the same sort of thing here, is that the channel itself is changing, and if the round trip delay is so long that was one of the things you raised most recently as a limiting factor.
Yeah, I think we're at 2.4 seconds round trip on the moon. And for Venus, I think we were just under 480 seconds. So boy, the moon. Maybe we might make some progress with waveforms informed with channel predictions. And Venus is like, boy, that'd be a wild leap.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a big difference. I think it's really exciting stuff. And thank you
I mean,
so
it's like
much.
I guess we send Eve, it doesn't come back for like 6 minutes. I mean, more or less, right? It's a really long time.
Yeah, it's a big delay. It's exciting. I think the we were I think maybe as long as 8 minutes. So yeah, it's amazing stuff. So really looking forward to uh, the results that we get for the next batch of work, and yeah, very exciting. And you know what? 20 or 30 bits over an hour is huge. That's real stuff, actual real communication versus just can you hear a tone? Presence or absence of a signal versus you're actually communicating something distinct, and the difference there, it's a big step up. So if you're used to broadband and megahertz of throughput and you're hearing less than 100 bits per hour, it may sound like, well, why bother? But yes, we should absolutely bother because this is the real communications, real stuff getting through.
And we have the practical side too, which is when we look at it like last time, I think the power amp started to melt after a few minutes. So if we're really counting on like sending for a whole hour for our error correction code to get whatever we get 30 bits, we also have to make sure that we have amplifiers that can last that long.
That's true. That's a big constraint. And then looking at the path, the physical realities of our inferior conjunction, when Venus is whooshing by us, um, that may, that hour that you get when it's as close as it is, things are changing during that hour or more. I mean, there's nothing stopping us from trying to explore the limits of approach and retreat. So just thank you so much. This has been an incredible learning experience, and it's opened up all sorts of things that we didn't know about. And just appreciate the opportunity to work with DSES and all the other friends that we've been able to meet. It's a good experience.
Yeah, likewise. What a crazy challenge.
Yeah. Only in amateur radio, really. And maybe, NASA. Very good. And then, yeah, to follow up on the AST, we filed a comment with the FCC about the company has been very enthusiastic about using the 70 centimeter band for their commercial satellite work, and there's a lot of issues with this. Uh, and one of the issues was something that Pete brought up, about their statements concerning interference, which don't match up terribly well with what actually goes on in the band, for what amateurs actually do in the band. It looks like they approach this solely addressing the existing radar, which I believe primary users of that particular band. So thank you very much for doing that. And we've been in contact with ARL and a number of other amateur organizations to try to make sure that we coordinate a response to this and object to commercial entity coming into 70 centimeters with the satellite stuff that really should be in other bands. It's a commercial effort and not really appropriate for this band. So we said it as clearly and as simply as we could. And those comments are now up on the FCC website, and we'll put them in our GitHub repo, our regulatory repo today. And yeah, so we'll see how it goes. That's like never a dull moment in regulatory work. Okay, and so we've done a lot of work to try to get ready for a demonstration of Opulent Voice radio, human radio interface. So this is the thing that the person sees, how they're going to use our uplink, we say uplink, and that sounds like satellite. So yes, Opulent Voice is intended to be the uplink protocol for Hyperia for our satellite work, and for anybody that wants to have a nice digital sort of uplink package for their satellite, open source and offered to everybody. We will be presenting about this work this summer several times. So we'll be at DEF CON, we will be at PacificCon, we will be in Germany at Bochum for AMSAT DL's symposium and space days. And there's also a workshop at that event with the ESA to talk about future geo amateur satellite opportunities. So that's a lot of traveling and a lot of presentations over the next number of months through September. And we're all in, and we will speak up for open source digital radio and promote, our particular solution, and just open source digital radio in general. So in efforts to do that, we're working really hard. In the past week, what we've focused on is functional improvements in the user interface and in the configuration management, and to make it act more predictably, to make it look like a mature sort of program. What we don't have yet is the connection to the modem. So we're sending frames to the modem. The modem is not yet in a place where it can accept that. So that's going to be more Matthew's area. So he's the lead for the modem design on the Pluto SDR. But we're just going to go ahead and get the sort of the user experience, the user interface, which is a web page. So it's all in HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS, and Python. You can use this program talking directly to another computer. So you can just use it over the internet with a little more additional work. That may be what we are going to end up showing at DEF CON, and maybe not demonstrate it over the air. So the over the air part will be the connection between two different interlocutor programs running, delivering the same frames that would go over the air, delivering them back and forth over an internet link. And this would we be able to do is to show people how it feels to fire up this program, to connect to it with a browser, to run it, to configure it, and just to see how it sounds, and all the other things that you get with text messaging and possibly voice memo. So that's what we're looking at over the next week. Those are the things that we're going to prioritize, whatever it takes, in order to make it look for a demonstration in early August at DEF CON. Aside from that, we have a trip coming up to DC. So even right before DEF CON, we'll be at the FCC Technological Advisory Council meeting to present all of our work on dynamic spectrum sharing. All of that's been finalized and turned in. So we have slide deck and our white paper that goes along into a much bigger document from all the other people in the spectrum sharing working group. And that's it for me. Please check the GitHub, and GitHub Ops is a channel on our Slack that tracks the check-ins for the GitHub work. So all sorts of different things. At DEF CON, we will also have people we'll have a variety of demonstrations. So I've talked a lot about Opulent Voice because that's what I'm directly involved with, but we will also have Ribbit, and the Ribbit web app will be demonstrated by Alex, who's the lead for technical lead for Ribbit. Very exciting. Lots of good feedback last year when we demonstrated Ribbit, and there's been some improvements. And Ed Friesma will be joining us, and he'll be presenting and supporting at our table. We'll be in RF Village again, so gotten confirmation for that. And we'll also have plenty to say about all the other different projects, and hopefully we'll be able to present about for any organizations that are interested in having space in RF Village. Let me know, and we'll be able to show off your work as well. That's it for me. Any questions or comments? Things we didn't cover? Okay, there's a question from Justin. ARRL filed comments about the AST thing or the AST. This is the commercial use of the 70 centimeter band. And an inquiry about whether we did file, and we did, and our comments are definitely there. What I heard was that there was nearly well over 1,400, 1,500 comments on this proceeding. So there's a pretty broad response to it. So yes, we did file, and those will be in the repo soon. And that's pretty much it for Slack, roundup on Slack. All right, any other comments or questions before we close the recording? All right, well, thank you everybody so much for all the hard work. We'll have our newsletter for July come out pretty much at the end of July. And then August, we'll give a roundup for what happened at DEF CON. I think that's probably how we'll do our newsletter schedule for the next month or two. Gotten a lot of good feedback from the last one. So if you want to check it out, please go to our website and see about the Inner Circle newsletter. It's in the About Us section. And if you have an article that you'd like to share, then please send it in. We love showing off open source digital work done by folks out there in the community. Okay, so thanks everybody, and see you on Slack. I'll pause the recording here, and then we'll go into office hours.